peak oil demand isn't so certain anymore. I saw the latest report. You've been in this game for many years, decades. What is like the common knowledge today? Because we just push the peak further and further. Is that a subtle fact, or is that something we just predict, that peak oil is now further into the horizon?
I think, yeah, and I'm to quote the CEO of Exxon, hydrocarbon is such a marvelous molecule, right? And it's actually being used, first of all, the energy density, it's only nuclear that can match it. And it has so many purposes globally. We've argued for a long period of time that oil demand has a tendency to follow population growth. And it's pretty smack on, actually. And then, of course, the incremental growth comes from actually people moving out of poverty to become consumers, which is something one actually should regard a good thing. I think what surprised most people is that, because when I saw DNV's first 2050 vision, their energy roadmap, I was surprised on how quickly the renewables was going to come into the market, and how quickly adoption of renewable was going to be. And it looked really bearish, actually. We're going to peak somewhere mid 2030, and then we're going to decline. But what has actually happened is the energy demand globally has increased at such a tremendous pace that oil's relative market share has remained in volume. It's reduced in percentage because the pie has just grown quite a lot, and I think it probably tells us that oil and non-sustainable energy, hydrocarbons, is probably a bit more sticky than people anticipated. But it's basically because the pie is growing so fast. When I was at a presentation back in September where a fun fact that China's electricity use for computing is now larger than Great Britain's electricity use. So it just tells you how, and I'm not blaming all on AI, but I'm blaming on population growth, people actually moving a little bit further up the consumer chain, and of course this technology change.
Yeah, just 2 points I want to highlight the things that you're saying, because one of the people I follow a lot in Norway is Torbjørn Kjus, chief economist in Aker, been following the oil markets for decades, and he has 2 points. One, that let's stop talking about energy transition and energy addition, because energy just compounds, so it makes sense to talk about the general addition in energy. That's point one. And point two, he said that in Europe, the oil demand has been stable for 10 years, but the initiatives from EU has been enormous. That says something about the stickiness, right? All those initiatives, demand, stable. And he says if you're going to follow the EU, they're going to cut it in 15 years. That seems very unlikely. So maybe it's just like a common sense to think that we have to sort of think a bit newish in this environment. One would assume.
Yeah, but I also think a lot of people have underestimated, the hydrocarbons part of the global economy. The easy target is, of course, environmentalists protesting in the Yellow Vest, which is made out of petroleum. So it's pulling up the umbrella, buying yourself a new iPhone. When you go to the hospital, the hydrocarbon is, almost in everything. And as long as we have, we as a race prosper and actually evolve, we lack to actually replace this. Of course, there's a lot of great initiatives for that, but the volume you need is just tremendous.
Exactly. So the narrative, if you're looking at Twitter, looking at the markets, from my perspective, the narrative is that too much oil supply. Many different reasons. Can you frame it in? Why is that the hottest topic right now? That it's just simply too much oil on the supply side?
No, but I think it's also probably one of the bigger questions in our industry, and it's very difficult to answer. If you look at IEA, EIA, OPEC, all the reporting agencies and the smart banks, they're looking at us to build tremendous inventory for the next year. To the tune of 2.5 to 3 million barrels per day for 2026. But with that, the oil pricing, the curve, is not showing any signs of that at all. And actually that we have, prompt crude is referred to in trading circles as flat price, just the flat oil price. Not that it's flattened by any means, but it's not compounded by spreads or anything. So, that we're having, $60 crude-ish, now is, is very strange. Looking at the oversupply we, in theory, have, looking at the oil in transit, which is at record highs. So there's like a massive pile of oil waiting to find a home, and then oil price can still perform, and the oil curve is completely flat. What we should have had, for those who are not experts on oil trading, we should have had a contango structure. We should have had cheap crude in the front, which gradually, with the price increase, as demand eats up the oversupply. That's at least the theory, but we don't see that in the market. And I think this is one of the larger kind of question marks. And the oil price itself, it's a sum of what people think, right? And in that sum is some part to disruption of Russian exports, to some parts what's happening in Venezuela, to some parts how stable is the Middle East. So basically everything is compounded into that price discovery. Whether if Brent is supposed to be worth $62 or $65 or $58. So I think it's just symptomatic of, it's very difficult to know what weighs the most in this picture.
So what is the perspective of OPEC? They had a meeting yesterday. What is their main concern? That the price is too low, that they want to have it higher because that's usually how they like it, or that they can't trust the production volumes, or several topics on the agenda probably, but...
Well, we spoke about the busy year. So this year, OPEC has actually wind down the cuts or rolled back the volunteer cuts of their production. And, that's had the limited effect on exports, all up to September this year. So, there's a difference between, price is probably made around exports, how much oil is actually coming into the market. Production increase that doesn't kind of hit exports doesn't really matter. It's a more domestic thing for the countries that export oil. But what kind of OPEC Middle East didn't start to materially increase exports until September, October. But kind of the big narrative is around, are OPEC motivated by price or motivated by market share? And what people are starting to turn towards now is that OPEC are probably more leaning towards market share than price. But having said that, the biggest producer of them all, Saudi, needs close to $90 for their budget to balance, right? Or some even argue more. So $60 doesn't really do much for them. But for the liquidity of the country, that they can actually export more volume, that of course helps. If you can export 7 million barrels instead of 6, so you basically get more liquidity into the state's coffers. But I'm kind of leaning towards that OPEC probably realize that they need to maintain their market share, and then you probably need a marginally lower oil price, not to stimulate future production to come out of, for instance, the US,